Hey, yo, what to do with the businesses, man? It's your homeboy, Mr. Carolina, aka coming from that Bleeding Carolina Blues show. Yo, your boy is back, man. And it's good to be back in here. But to the news at hand. Unless you're living under a rock, and I'm sure most of us, Hornets fans are not. People that I know it's an oldie, but hey, it's still goodie though. The Charlotte Hornets have extended qualifying offer to the three following players. Miles Breezy, which we all figured he was coming back. PJ Washington, and Theo Maledon. Now, out of the three, Theo Maledon to me is the most surprising, but I guess not surprising, depending on what we're doing with Dennis Smith Jr. Now, out of the backup point guards, Dennis showed his most versatility. Dennis was the best on-ball defender at the point guard position that we had. Um, Even with some of our wings, he was the best on-ball perimeter defender that we had. So I'm figuring this is just insurance, just in case we can't resign him. But for me, ideally, since we passed on Scoot, which hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was one of the guys that wanted Scoot Henderson. That was just me. I wanted Scoot. But if you're gonna pass on a talent like Scoot Henderson, guess who had just about the same measurables? Maybe not the wingspan, but the same measurables as Scoot Henderson. Dennis Smith. Both 6'3", both built like linebackers or safeties. Both got serious bunnies. Okay. Dennis to me is a better on-ball defender than Scoot, but both are true point guards in the sense that they want to facilitate, get the teammates involved. Now, I'm sure the front office is in discussions, even though we're in transition because we got new ownership. I'm sure we're in transition to make sure we bring back our core players. We all knew from a standpoint that Miles is coming back. Mitch made that very apparent in all his press conferences and to anybody that he talked to, say, hey, we want Miles Bridges back. And if you look at our core, Miles has always been a part of it. Yes, off the court stuff aside, Miles Bridges was set to have a big payday. Now, his situation, which again was bad, everybody deserves a second chance. So I'm glad as a Hornets fan that's been one for many, many years, back to the Glenn Rice and Muggsy Bogues and Larry Johnson days. I'm glad to see us put forth something on the court that us fans, us real fans, are going to be excited to see. Now, does it mean we're going to be title contenders, as Brandon Miller was stated? Probably not this year coming up. But if you look at our core, our team, 1 through 5, we're young, we're athletic, we can defend the rim now because we have two good centers now, two in Nick Richards and Mark Williams. Kai Jones is, I guess, the emergency power forward slash center, but unless Kai gets his basketball IQ up and puts some more weight on, he's like an emergency big. Then we drafted James Najee. I'm sure he's going to be stashed over in Barcelona for about a year or two, or he might come over the Swarm. But that, to me, that pick right there was to put Kai Jones on notice, saying, yo, we got somebody that's bigger, stronger, longer wingspan, can block shots too, and can jump out the gym, and he's just 18. So that was put a Kai Jones on notice. Mark Williams and Nick Richards they're solidified. That's our center rotation, hands down. It's going to be interesting to see that battle play out in camp, but most likely Mark Williams is going to be the starting center. But I wouldn't be mad if Nick Richards became the starting center. But again, that's just the way this is supposed to be playing out. But when you look at how our team is formatted, we are formatted for success, not only now, but going into the future. Again, the success that has been put in place for this team is going to be great. Like LaMelo, if LaMelo needs to not only get into the gym and bulk up, in order for us to go, LaMelo needs to stop committing stupid fouls. That's one. Get better at his decision making, and get better on the defensive end. And again, I had no problem with. It looked like from some people they had an issue with what Ms. Kupchak said. He's not a leader. right now. You can't be a leader if half the time you're not on the floor, and when you are, you're committing stupid fouls, or now he does do the flashy passes and do things like that, but being a leader is more than just flashy passes. Being a leader is more than just chalking up shots and getting triple doubles. It's leading by example. Am I setting that example in the locker room? Am I setting that example on the floor? We don't have that guy in the locker room. They call Gordon Hayward the adult in the room half the time. If you look at that locker room, there is no guy that's going to lay down the hammer, so to speak, like we had in the past. Even though Montrez wasn't the best player, that was an alpha dog that you had in the locker room that was going to be like, yo, this is the way things are done. We don't really have that right now. Nobody I can point at on this roster says, yo, that's him. But Miles coming back, I'm not going to say that's him, but if you're looking at an alpha dog in the locker room, that's the one that's going to get on folks sometimes. That's the one that's going to yell, sometimes get in your face because, it's a passion for the game. But again, going down now, we have the two. For me, I'm kind of torn and tossed up here, but I'm not really. Because if I'm the coach, if I'm Steve Clifford, you drafted Brandon Miller and passed on Scoot Henderson for a reason. You slide in Brandon Miller at the 2. You don't slide him in at the 3. Because if you're giving this qualifying offer to Miles Bridges is best suited to play the 3 position. Or are you doing Gordon Hayward? Because, granted, or we still have an opportunity to trade Gordon Hayward. But he's on a $30+ million expiring contract, so that could be a nice trade chip. Now, to me, in my opinion, Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier are going to be used as trade chips. We need to shift the trajectory of this team. Gordon's over 30. Terry's about to be 30. You need to give the team to the young kids and let them go. You need to give it to a LaMelo, to a Brandon Miller, I know some people don't care for him, a James Bouknight. You need to give it to a Bryce McGowan, a JT Thor, a Miles Bridges, a PJ Washington, a Dennis Smith Jr., a Nick Richards, a Mark Williams, a Nick Wright Jr. that we just drafted as well, Amari Bailey. Let these young guys loose. We're not competing for a championship anytime soon. I know that's not Steve Clifford's MO, but let the young guys do their thing and let them prove their worth, because we're not really helping them and developing them properly like we're supposed to, because we're playing the vets, and the vets are either always hurt, not available, or a liability on defense. As much as I like Scary Terry, he's a 6'1", 6'2" liability on defense. Not saying, he always said, I'm going to give effort, but we really don't see it on the defensive end. Now, has he hit clutch buckets for it? Absolutely. That's what I say. I enjoy watching Scary Terry play. I live up here near D.C., so every time they play in the Wizards, I take my boys up there to see the Hornets play the Wizards. But what we have now, and again, I said I was on the Brandon Miller wagon, but now that I watch more film on him, we got something. I can see why he was rated the number 2 prospect. Number 2, number 3 prospect. I can see why we passed on a Scoot Henderson for a 6'9" knockdown shooter that can play off the pick and roll, can handle the ball, can protect the rim a little bit. Guard his man. He need to put on some muscle. You're only 6'9", 200. You need to put on some muscle on your body. Now I know he was sick, but you still got to put some muscle on. But what I didn't know was with our 27th pick, I had no idea that Nick Wright Jr. was the number 1 prospect coming out in 2022. I had no idea about that one. And, his season was derailed because of injuries at Arkansas. Now, he is, if the measurements for Scoot Henderson are correct, with the 6'6", 6'3", he's about 2-3 inches taller than Scoot. Same explosive, not as explosive, but he's explosive, but he's a better shooter. He's a facilitator. The man can see the court, and he's a competitor. He's go look at some of his film. The young kid can compete. So it kind of cushions that fall of not drafting Scoot, because the way this team is projecting, if you look at the starting lineup that we can put out there. You have a 6'7" point guard. You have a 6'9" shooting guard. You have a, depending on if it's Miles or Gordon, you have a 6'6", 6'7" small forward. You have a, again, 6'7", 6'8" power forward, depending on who you put out there at power forward. That most likely it's going to be PJ. And then you have a 7', 7'1", 7'2" center in either Nick Richards or Mark Williams. So it's a longer range of your team that can compete on that end of the floor. Again, we may not always like what this team did, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was one of the guys that was like, yo, why? I never booed the pick. I was a fan of Scoot. They had nothing against Brandon Miller. But my preference was Scoot because, you know, I watched film on Brandon Miller, but I was kind of like, you know, for me, watching this team, and if anybody that's watched this team, if you look at us, when LaMelo went out, we struggled because you didn't have in, you know, Dennis came in, and Dennis did his thing. But even with that, when LaMelo went out, we struggled because we didn't have a ball handler. Dennis came in, okay, cool, we got a ball handler, but he doesn't shoot like LaMelo does. He's more available because he's not fouling like LaMelo is, but Dennis can't play the full 48 minutes. So when Dennis went out, Theo came in, it was like, he's serviceable, but he's not LaMelo nor Dennis, not on the same caliber as athletics, not on the same level as athleticism, decision making. He'll give you some buckets, you know, but when you see the drop from LaMelo to Dennis to Theo. Now we've made that up with Nick Wright Jr. because that kid's going to come in and look like he's very hungry. My point is, the team right now currently constructed, we may not win the East, but I'm telling y'all now, we're going to be a lot more competitive in the East. The East has made some changes, and I can guarantee you, come tomorrow, because I'm pretty sure most of y'all are going to be watching this video on Friday, we're going to either make some trades. Tomorrow's Thursday, Lord Jesus. From Friday, tomorrow's Thursday, I keep forgetting, man, my work days are long. Come Friday, we're going to make some changes. There's going to be some trades that's going to be made, some free agents, I don't know what we're looking at, but to me, for us, it's a good sign that we want to bring back. I've heard reports that we want to bring back Dennis Smith Jr. Again, the qualifying offer tail was just an insurance policy, just in case. We want to bring back PJ, not at $20 million a year, but we want to bring PJ Washington back. And again, restricting Miles, we always said all along we wanted to bring Miles Bridges back. He belongs in a Hornets uniform. Keep your star player happy, which is LaMelo, and that was his boy. It was Lob City. Throw it up. Miles is going to go get it somewhere. Now, you imagine a lineup, that's what I'm saying, a young core lineup of LaMelo, Brandon, Miles, PJ, Mark, or Nick at the center position. And then you have a Dennis Smith, a Nick Wright, Bryce McGowan's, James Bouknight if he's coming back, a JT Thor. I most likely Mark Bailey's going to Greensboro. But you still have Gordon Hayward and Terry if they're still on the team. You have a nice young core that can get out and run. And I think that's what the team was looking for. So, you know, I'm anxious to see Buzz City, what we're going to do. Again, my 2 cents on it, I gave the draft an A. And that's what I said. I was a Scoot fan, but the more I look at the film on Brandon Miller, that kid's going to be great. I feel for us, he's going to be special. You know, you can 6'9", you model your game after Paul George, and, you know, PG is a beast when he was with the Pacers. If he can become any shape, form of that, yo, we Gucci. But, you know, tell me what y'all think, man. Leave me a comment down below. You know, always like, share, subscribe. You know what I mean? I'm trying to grow this channel, you know, be the next, you know, Hornets and, you know, Panthers podcast on here, man. So, man, again, like, share, subscribe, man. You know, looking forward to the season. You know, I'm looking forward to the next video, man. Y'all keep going on this journey with me. But, you know, peace, love. You know, I highlight y'all, man. Let your soul glow. We out.